April 3rd to 6th, 2023 at the first bank building of the Faculty of Agriculture, University of Ibadan. The theme of the conference was agricultural productivity, gateway to sustainable economic recovery from recession and COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria. The opening ceremony of the conference was attended by the Executive Governor of Oyo State, Engineer Seyi, represented by the Commissioner for Economic Planning, Oyo State, Professor Musbau Adedeji. The opening ceremony of the conference, the opening ceremony and the conference were hosted by the Vice Chancellor, University of Ibadan, FNAS. Represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, President Siri Adayonga. Also in attendance were the Dean Faculty of Agriculture, Stella, who was represented by Joshua Utola Oshusoya from the Department of Agronomy, UI. The head of the Department of Agriculture, Economics, University of Ibadan, Professor distinguished agricultural economists from universities and research institutes within and outside the country. Postgraduate students, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. The conference was attended by a total of 200 participants, comprising distinguished guests from federal and state agencies and parastatals as well as the academia. The conference resolved as follows. 1. The association noted the ratifying implication of independence of Nigeria and other countries for food importation, as well as increasing high prices of agricultural produce, despite Nigerian self-sufficient food production some decades ago. This arose from the underutilization of resources by farmers, which is magnified by low returns on investment, market distortion, inadequate incentives to farmers and fostering technologies among others. The federal government is therefore called upon to reinvigorate agricultural production through providing an relief for commercial agricultural production backed by a improved and efficient marketing system. This will undoubtedly put food on the table of Nigerians cheaply and conveniently. The association also noted that the Nigerian agricultural landscape has witnessed increase in food output volume in the last 3 decades through remarkable improvement in poultry, agri-food crop, and fishery production. However, this growth has not matched the rising food demand situation, which is aggravated by inadequate storage facilities, port transportation, and others. Hence, the conference called on the federal government to impose state of emergency of food production to improve the nutrient intake of human capital capacity of Nigerians. 3. Agro-processing is essential for food availability and the table of Nigerians at the appropriate time and in the appropriate quality and quantity. To this end, the conference viewed that a revolutionary approach should be adopted towards re-energizing development along the value chain with the introduction of intermediate technologies adaptable to the socio-economic actors along the value chain. 4. Injecting trained manpower as exemplified in graduates of agriculture from Nigerian universities has been identified as one of the ways of driving increased agricultural productivity and agricultural production commercialization. The federal government agricultural production for graduates of agriculture who are turned out every year in Nigerian universities. 5. One major limitation to the development of agriculture in general along the agricultural value chain is lack of enabling environment. Government is thereby called upon to engage the overall development of the agricultural subsector through appropriate policy formulation on the creation of enabling environment, especially adequate supply of electricity, good access to and potable water supply, among others, and exploring alternative sources of energy in addition to providing tax relief to agrarian companies for power generation and establishment of cluster cottage industries. 6. Improvement of agricultural productivity must go with storage improvement, which is one of the daunting problems affecting seasonal availability of food to Nigerians. The association advocated formulation and implementation of a policy on public-private partnership in food storage. This will go a long way to reducing post-harvest losses and improve the income generation of farmers in Nigeria. 7. Of particular importance is the need to address the problem of inadequate access to agricultural credit. This has led to serious underinvestment and inability to cover rising costs of inputs as well as reduced productivity in the subsector. Government is therefore requested to put in place appropriate programs and facilities for farmers and agri-processors to access intermediate credit at reduced interest. This will assist in the procurement of storage and processing facilities by farmers, agro-processors, and marketers. 8. The Nigerian Association of Agricultural Economists, (NAE), at this conference, invested in the following distinguished agricultural economists who have contributed to the development of agricultural economics as fellows of the association. 1. Professor. We have 9. The association approved Kwara State University, Malete, Kwara State, as the next host of the 23rd annual conference of the association. The theme for this conference is competitive agricultural industry, policies, designs, and infrastructure. 10. The Nigerian Association of Agricultural Economists appreciate the Oyo State government, the Vice Chancellor, University of Ibadan, the Dean Faculty of Agriculture, University of Ibadan, the HOD and members of the Agricultural Economics Department, University of Ibadan, and other distinguished sponsors, academic fathers, distinguished members of the association, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, who have contributed significantly towards the success of the conference. Thank you very much.
Once it's time. Yes. Thank you, sir. My name is Luke. Another point is on the issue of what should be given. The host of the conference, yes, that did very well. How they can be compensated. I think they said that there are a committee currently reviewing the constitution. I think it's good we enter into the committee.
No, it will be in the minutes.
Okay, the committee. Okay.
What we have discussed on that will be in the minutes. But can you finalize? We will sign.
I will sign.
Yeah, you are not signing myself.
By warrant.
And once you sign electronically,
Still signatures.
once you sign electronically,
I will.
you will send to me and I will sign and will release.
You are sending to what? Thank you.
So, thank you, sir. Any other business, please? Rather than your own dashboard, there are downloads there. Part of it is resources. You can download anytime. You can download 10 times a day. Much of our government is yes.
In the absence of any other deliberations, observations, and contributions, I, Ben Choma Patricia, from Ibadan University, move motion that this meeting be adjourned to this time or some other time this year. Thank you.
My name is Mo Shedrack from Appeal.
Thank you. Your name, please.
Mo Shedrack.
Mo
Shedrack. NWOB. You can.
So, immediately we are taking our team break. So we are going back to the concurrent sessions immediately. Please, we need to run up maybe by lunchtime, and then there will be closing ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you are going, save it all.
I was written in conjunction with my colleagues at Augustine University, Ilara. So I want to crave your indulgence that you may not see everything because my results and all, I couldn't put them on the PowerPoints. I mean so please, but it's in the main paper. So I'm going to refer to the main paper most of the time. So please, I crave your indulgence, but the document is with the organizers. So I start on, I go straight on to the paper. So like the title says, we just the outline, introduction, literature review, methodology, results, summary of major findings, policy implication and recommendation. It's a very straightforward paper. So the premise on which we came up with this paper are: one, agriculture is one of the oldest occupation of man, and it plays a catalytic role in every economy, particularly in developing nations like our own. And we also know that by so many authors and the World Bank, that agriculture is one of the most powerful tools to end extreme poverty, boost shared prosperity, and feed a projected 9.7 billion people by 2050. We all know that without agriculture we cannot, no food, and that's basis. Then in Nigeria, we know that we are an agrarian economy. Thank God all of us are agri economists. We know the basis, we know the structure of our country. And it is also on record that the agricultural sector is 2 to 4 times more effective in raising incomes among the poorest people, particularly in our own areas of economy, where most of them are in the rural areas, and we know that agriculture is mainly practiced in the rural areas. It's the major source of income for them, directly or indirectly. So the underlying objectives are: one, we want to investigate the effect of agricultural subsectoral output on economic growth in Nigeria. You agree with me that the Nigerian agricultural sector, if you look at the statistics, is broken into 4 major subsectors: crops, livestock, fishery, and one for the poverty as independent variable, and the other one for GDP as independent variable. It's the various, all the independent variables that we had. So the results from the results now, when we run our models, the results reveal that all the variables were strongly positively correlated with real GDP, except poverty headcount, which exhibited strong negative correlation coefficients. And by implication, this means that increased contribution from each subsector and agricultural credit will boost real GDP and potentially reduce poverty headcount in Nigeria. Of course, we did unit tests and all that, and our variables were not stationary at level, so they were order 1. So we went on to do the co-integration test, and we found at least 3 variables co-integrating at 5%. So having observed that there is a long-run relationship between the variables, we deployed the fully modified ordinary least square model of Phillips and Hansen. And our results from model 1, in which we had the GDP as a dependent variable, indicates a very high adjusted R squared of 0.99, which meant that 99% of variations in real GDP was explained by the 4 subsectors of agriculture and agricultural credit, livestock, or subsectors of agriculture, as well as an increase in credit to agriculture by commercial banks, will significantly spoil real GDP in Nigeria. So those were the results we got. Then similarly, the adjusted R squared of 0.78 recorded in the second model showed that 78% of the variations in poverty headcount was explained by all the subsectors of agriculture and agricultural credit. Furthermore, the coefficients of all the independent variables were significant and negatively signed, except that of livestock, which though carried the appropriate negative sign but was not significant. So, results obtained from the analysis carried out revealed that all the subsectors of agriculture and agricultural credits will actually boost real GDP. And for the poverty headcount, is the same thing. All those, the increase in all those subsectors except livestock, because it had the negative sign, but it was not significant. So we also reduce poverty headcount in Nigeria. So on the basis of that, we recommended that we should at least focus more on that subsector, livestock, so that we can improve productivity in the livestock sector and further boost total GDP and further reduce poverty in Nigeria. That's my story. Thank you.
Listens to her and she can harvest a lot of our comments. So any questions for?
Well, maybe one of the results that this livestock sector returned a negative impact.
No, that is for poverty headcount. You know, we ran 2 models. One was for GDP. That's the contribution of these sectors to GDP. Then the other one was their contribution to poverty headcount.
Okay.
So for the GDP, everything went well. That is livestock, all the subsectors, they were significant, they will contribute to GDP. Yes, yeah. But for the poverty headcount, all the other sectors, all of them carry the negative side which we expect. Okay. That is reduce and increase in this will reduce poverty.
Okay.
But livestock, the coefficient was not significant.
Okay.
It was negative, which of course is appropriate sign, but it was not significant.
Okay, it was not significant. Anyway, whatever it is, I was just trying to say that one of the things that we came up with at the last conference was that we needed to focus on the national livestock sector because there needs to be a transformation there for it to improve and help the economy.
Exactly, and that's
so I was thinking that was revealing it.
Exactly, that's what my
daughter
daughter
say that.
It
was something that came out last year. So just to support what.
Thank you.
Maybe I got lost in the support. It was not significant.
Yeah, but he recommended that we should improve it so that it can help.
A fully modified ordinary least square regression, and I just wanted to know what is the extra outputs that this gives us other than the OLS.
That's all. Thank you. I want to say, in trying to answer your question, from the regression results, normally we have all these other tests to check your various, all those, that was what I was saying. I will be referring to the main paper when I'm talking, because I didn't bring everything here. The results were tested and everything was it's in the main paper. So at least we are sure that the data we used was okay. Then because we did all the tests, that the usual tests, the econometricians we thought, you see we have 4 of us that did that paper. I'm not the only one. And the policy person, the econometrician is not here, but at least I understand what when the results come I can interpret it. So but everything was properly done, and we show, if you look, see the paper, you see it. Then the fully modified OLS, well, I think, like I just said, I'm not an econometrician, so I cannot distinguish between one file or this or that. But when I'm working, we work as a team, and then we say, okay, which one do we use and all that. You know, we settle for what we want to use after. All of us have put our heads together. But I guess if you were here, we'll be able to answer that question. But I think it was most appropriate for what we were doing and that was why we were elected. So that's where I'm just going to answer. You might want to add, or you are in the field, so you might want to tell us more.
Well, I would say because of the issue of our time, she has addressed the questions and taken other comments back to the team. It's a work in progress. And it will be it will be addressed. So thank you. Let's appreciate Dr. Grace for that presentation. Dr. Grace is our grandma in the department. So God be the glory for our life. We will be going on to take the
out of the four ADPs on Ondo State, due to the last consideration of cassava in our zone. In our zone, I picked 4 units from the 4 local governments. And so our 210 questionnaire was proportionally taken from the 5 local governments. Meanwhile, 10 out of the questionnaire was actually not used because of the questions they were not actually compliant. So I have to go down to 200 questionnaires. Douglas production function is used to analyze the first objective. The second objective is MFC. We give what you want R, which is resource efficiency. If R is greater than 1, that means the resources in efficiency less than 1 is equal to what is efficiently utilized. And if it's less than 1, it means that the resources is underutilized. So then in this study, the input specified the Douglas production function is expressed in monetary terms. As a result, the slope coefficient of this independence. Then return to scale. Return to scale was calculated by summing of the partial elasticity of the coefficient of the Douglas production function. Then if the sum is greater than 1, that means increasing to return to scale. Then less than 1 means decreasing return to scale. Then equals to 1 is constant return to scale. The budgetary analysis was used to estimate the profitability of the farmers. Whereby if our gross margin is greater than 0, that means the cassava, the enterprise is profitable. But if it's less than 0, that means it's not profitable. Then this is the consumption framework, the socio-economic production factors. This is inputs and endowment. Then it translates to resource efficiency. This means that if the resources are efficiently utilized, then their productivity will increase. And if productivity will increase, that means the enterprise will be profitable. This is the result. The deterministic production function of the cassava. Here, just 3 inputs are significant, which cassava cuttings, farm machineries, and labor. They are all significant at the cassava cutting is significant at 1%, labor is significant at 10%, and farm machinery is significant at 5%. Therefore, the resource efficiency, the harm for cassava cutting is 1.4 per day. Then for farm size is 0.074, for labor is 0.083. Then this was just 2 input that was actually significant at 5% for the 2 statistics. So Then the labor, which is less than 1, that means since it's less than 1, that means it's decreasing. Less than 1 increasing return to scale. Like they're not the resources are not efficiently utilized. Then herbicide is also less than 1. Then the return to scale is the farmer operating on stage 1, which is increasing return to scale. That means that for an additional increase in input, their output will be increased. Then for the gross margin, the farmer spend more on labor, which is 78,218 naira, which means that most of the resources they get was on labor. Automatically, the output was actually reduced. But meanwhile, by the time we calculated the gross margin, which is total revenue and total variable cost, we realized that their profit was 48,379 naira. That means cassava is still a profitable enterprise. In conclusion, cassava production was found to be profitable in the study area with a gross margin of 48,379 naira. The study also showed that labor and herbicide were not optimally utilized, and these critical 2 production inputs were overutilized. Then return to scale coefficient of 1.505 was obtained, which is increasing return to scale. Recommendation: government should reconsider the policy of subsidized agricultural production, and this will enable such small-scale farmers to be able to afford the purchase of fertilizer, pesticide, weedicide, herbicide, and other relevant inputs in cassava production. Then this study has shown that cassava farmers in the study are inefficient in the use of various inputs. Policy should be tied to provide adequate training to extension agents so as to enlighten farmers on appropriate application of variable inputs, especially the chemicals, because the administration was actually overutilized. References.
Thank you. Told us again that cassava is profitable, then it's an opportunity, bearing in mind the unemployment, all this and that. But one thing I've noticed about the paper is that, and it's a lesson to every one of us too, the key variable that she mentioned there, profitability and efficiency. If you are picking a particular analytical tool to analyze it, you need to tell us what makes it to be better than others. You don't just dample it to that like that. Because when you say budgetary for profitability, it's not the only one. There are other ones. What edge does that have over the other? You need to tell us. And the same thing when you are talking about resource use efficiency too, that needs to be emphasized. Let's know the reason why that. And then another thing I noticed is that try as much as possible. Your recommendation should dovetail from the result you obtain. Don't go and harvest recommendation from outside. It has to be linked. For example, you are saying that in terms of herbicide and whatever, inefficiency, you can link recommendation towards that, which is understandable. But where you are talking of extension and the rest, without being linked to that, is not supposed to be. So I want every one of us to take note of that. You know, as I said earlier, the essence of this is to better our paper. Especially if you want to throw it in any good journal, all these things will not be corrected there. So thank you. So
what brings about within the area of that research? What brings about that research and what you want to really achieve? The first person was even worse in the sense that you have 6 states in the West. You eventually take 2 states, which is like 30% or less. Now, what was the problem? Is it that many more people are going into household farming, small-scale farming, and then you now see that allocation of labor within the family is creating problem? That is now why you want to go in and see what is happening. How can something be done at the end of your study? What policy can we bring out from the research? So that is you have a need. Now to this one, I could see the problem statement is a bit better. He says that he's trying to say that it looks like antithesis to say that Nigeria is the highest producer of cassava when the holding is an average of less than 2 hectares. So she now wants to look at profitability or why are they still doing it? If we are holding so little in terms of exchange. So she now went to this analysis. But even then, you have four variables that did not even talk of what of agrochemical like fertilizer, all those things, or herbicide. We only took labor, the stage itself, that is planting seeds, and maybe two others. But by the time you are concluding, you are saying government should support with all those things that will even make it less profitable. I don't know whether I'm communicating.
Yeah. That's even the essence of why I said the recommendation should not take from the results of it. It shouldn't come from outside.
So if you want to do policy, have you not done some or something? But because by the time you now go for fertilizer of 20,000 and put, it will be less profitable. Why don't you now do a kind of comparative something and see people who are doing it at a larger scale, whether they are profitable, this small holder. So that is my information. Thank you.
Most times when we are talking about profitability, we always want to use the gross margin. Is it because we do not get information on the fixed cost of the input? Because the profit itself is total revenue minus total cost, and the total cost is variable cost and fixed cost. Even the person that presented yesterday use a gross margin instead of total farm income. That's just my observation. Then the profit that you calculated, you did not divide it by the farm size. You only told us that it's the profit per hectare. And I think you have to look at the farm size before you could say it's per hectare.
That makes sense. Similarly, I want you to also improve on your references. So they are somehow too limited, because when a problem, you have to ensure that the problem you are stating is recent. So the wise go to your work and 2010, 2012, it can just, though those things are still relevant, but please try to let us see new papers that talk about these things. So definitely your concerns is still relevant. Thank you very much.
For your presentation. I have just two observations. Well, one is an observation, the other one is a question. My observation is on the sampling techniques, the sampling procedure. I understand you used purposive sampling to select the states, but it was not properly stated, the procedures that you followed to get your sample. So you may try to put it well so that it will add to the beauty of the work. Then I want to ask, what do you think led to labor leading to decreasing returns to skill? What could be the reason?
Okay. Sample made mention of not using some data collected, either because they were not relevant. I think having returned from the field, and this is your final work, since they were not relevant, you don't need to mention it again. You could just look into redefining your sampling population, since those can be relevant to the research. They don't contribute anything. So I think you will remove it next time. And then it's an observation, and maybe the discussant, the chairman will talk on it later briefly. Most of our researchers in Nigeria conclude recommending the government should they, the government should do them. I think it's time that we begin to, the government should they, should that, because in my opinion, that recommendation is actually becoming irrelevant. It doesn't add to the value of the research. Instead of that, can we look at even maybe involving some other stakeholders in some of these recommendations that the government, because they seem not existent, but they don't have any value to our research at the moment. Thank you.
For the recommendation, so I will.
Okay. And before you go on with that, with what the last speaker said, we need to learn from it. Anytime I want to give recommendation, government. NGOs are there. CDA and some other, we don't need to just be saying government, because all these things are not working. Private extension agents are there. You understand? Instead of putting everything government, at the end of the day, nothing will come out from it. So we should all take note of that. So you can go.
Our ADP zone was out of the 4 ADP zones in the state because of the large concentration of cassava in that area. And out of in our ADP zone, 4 blocks were split. Then 5 communities were split out of those 4 blocks. Then the two 10 questionnaires were now proportionally taken from the communities. So making 8. But after collecting everything, so I have to take 10 questionnaires because of not really about all of the specification questions.
Sorry, if I may ask, who was taking proportionate to size, whatever. You are not talking about the sampling technique used. That's it. When you say, but is this simple random? You now use proportionate to size. So we need to be careful. Many of us will just say proportionate to size. It is not sampling technique. It has never been. This we need to be careful. Did you use simple random to pick that?
Yes.
Then proportionate to size is now understand. Everybody will understand that. So we have to be careful. These are technical terms that if you want to put this your work in standard journal, these are what they are going to look at. So I want you to take note of that. You can address others.
The reason they talk to scale, because most of the farmers they are small scale farmers, so they don't actually. It's not that they don't employ labor, but they're expanding labor because the wives are there, children are there. They just employ so many people on the farm. And by the time you compare that one to the output on the farm, so it's not really measuring. That's why it's beginning to decrease in return to scale. That's why the labor there. Then there's another question is the one is the gross budgetary analysis. The one we use gross margin. Most of the journals, gross margin actually is more of it explains it better. It captures actually all the variables in measuring profitability. That's why it's gross margin model.
No, excuse me, sir.
Another thing, I'll give you about. We are using gross margin. The variable cost is the one you are going to deduct from the total revenue, whatever. So the fixed cost stuff will not show face at all. It's excluded. It's excluded. But where you want to do budgetary analysis, then you consider the variable cost and the fixed cost. And your fixed cost should be depreciation on the fixed cost items, because everything is not going to be consumed at a go. It's still going to be there. So let's be careful with all this. Any question again? So the next presenter.
This is as a result of the capital that is the one of the speaker just spoke on capital on a farm, which is to farmers, which is very, very important because some of those inputs that are used to reduce the greenhouse gas are capital intensive. The age of the farm matters a lot. The same thing with revenue. Quickly, summary. Accessibility to produce input is critical factor to production. The greenhouse gas has a serious threat to global warming. Of course, we are feeling it. It's there, which is dangerous to you and I and the environment. The finding shows that the farms in the study area have poor access to input. It is also established that the extent of use of the practices are low, and such finding capital and so are there. Conclusion. The finding concluded that the farms in the study area have access to the inputs that are very critical in reducing the greenhouse gas emission. Therefore, reduction of those gases among the commercial is a great room for studies, for further study. And lastly, we recommended that when you make the problem of global warming, there is need to reduce those gases, which are the consequence of global warming and accessibility of liquids is made for adoption and utilization. These are some of the practices. Thank you very much.
Let's update this to some discussion. Any question? go to your model.
Okay, sir.
First of all, what is there? The main objective is what?
The main objective
examine the accessibility status.
Oh, sorry.
That's question. Accessibility, where is it? Examine the accessibility status of the commercial chicken farms to agro inputs.
And draw implication from those practices
to agro inputs that will reduce greenhouse. And let's see how you have addressed this one. Show us which the accessibility.
I used an index.
So where's the index? So I'm seeing percentages. So when I say index, it should be in decimal point something
percentage.
Okay.
This is the essence of use.
But let's even take it as this is index. So what is this say, sir?
It's, at the end of the day, we now did the ranking of all the...
Thank you, sir. But what is it saying? Use of good quality feed, for instance. What is?
Yes.
What is that result saying?
It's saying that of all these inputs, the use of good quality feed will be #1 in the reduction of the practices. This one came to, if the farmer uses a good quality feed, the level of ammonia that is emitted from the feed will be reduced.
So if you have translated this to a farmer that does not know
anything about constituent of the feed.
Prof, in the body of the work, we actually gave some details. And that is what I'm saying. If I'm to meet a farmer, I will now educate that farmer that if you use a good quality feed, the level of ammonia from the droppings will be reduced. And if it is reduced, the amount of ammonia that will be emitted into the...
Let me just, to a layman, let me just interpret this. Okay. A layman, I'm not talking like you now, because you are the engineer, I'm just a mechanic here. Now, I will read this as saying that in all of these good practices, not more than 5 of 10 farmers are into them.
The use of
not more than 6, but between 5 and 6 farmers are into that. For instance, for use of good quality feed, you can say 6 of 10 use that kind of thing. But for use of radiant eating system, only 5 of 10 are using that. Now, what is that suggesting to us? That not many people are aware of that. So maybe the sensitization will then come in as something you want to bring up. Okay. Now, let's see where you then say greenhouse gas emission reduction practices. Let's see that your equation.
Okay.
First of all, let's see the equation.
The equation?
No.
Yes.
Oh, this? Okay,
under
the methodology.
Methodology.
Okay, sir. So what is this one saying? Y is extent of use of G.
Yes, that's the extent of use of the practice.
So how do we determine that?
The extent.
Because we need to know how that is measured. Extent of use.
What we did was to ask them the extent of how they use the practice. So
you will calculate the extent.
How did you calculate the extent? How did you determine?
What is the measurement?
Is it the...
How do you measure the
number of those practices available?
The number, yes, we visited. And the number of those practices that are available, which we saw.
And you built an index?
Yes.
For instance, if I'm adopting, let's go back to that year's result.
Okay.
Go back. The table we are looking at now. If there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different practices
available.
Now you ask me if I'm using any of them.
I would be there to see whether what you are telling me.
And you are there now.
Okay.
So you've seen me and you have asked me. Now you are able to see 4 out of 8. How will you got the extent?
At the end of the day, I will do a general. I used a total of over 300 farmers.
Okay. But each farmer will have an extent.
We have an extent.
You will calculate the extent for each farmer, extent of use of all of this.
How did you estimate your Y? That's why. That's the simple question. How did you measure it?
It's at the end of the day, when they say
they use 4 out of 8.
They use 4 out of 8.
Yes.
We now kind of use something that is binary. Whether
it
yes
cannot be binary.
Oh,
you've done yes or no. Now, if you ask me, Yusuf, as the poultry farmer, which of these do you use? Say yes or no, and I think yes in 4 places of the 8. You are assuming first of all that they are equally weighted. That good quality feed is the same as we generate the same reduction in gas emission as circulation using fan. That may not be totally correct anyway, but let's assume that they are equally weighted. So that would then say that if I'm using 4 or 5 of 8, my index of usage will be, or extent of use will be 5/8. Is that correct?
Sorry, I didn't get you, bro. Okay.
I thought you were writing something.
No, I was jotting.
No, the extent, you said, go to your wife, go up with it. Yes, sir. You said, extent of use of greenhouse gas emission reduction interventions, or I don't know what I mean. Now, how do we calculate that extent?
No, it's the dependent variable. That's why it's
how did you calculate it?
If you, let me take another thing. If you are talking about production and you are talking about maize output as your dependent variable, you want to, depending on what measure you are using, maybe tons of maize. So you want to say tons of maize produced by the farmer is affected by the bags of fertilizer that he has used, the land area available to him, and that. So what is this why?
No, Bob, you see, what for this one, it's actually the perception of the farm owner.
How do we capture perception? That will take us to Leica scale. And when you get there, you still have to recalculate and come to extent again.
Okay, it's not a problem. It's not a. I will note it and.
No, I'm
correct.
And when you now say extent, maybe ordinary just using will not be the one where maybe you will have to use stobit or something else. This may not be. So we need to understand, or if it is just a count variable, extent of use 2, 3, 4, 5, but it cannot be because it has to be out of how many of the practices. So
not a problem. I will get it correct.
I don't know how to go further.
It's an issue.
It's difficult.
It's difficult to go further from there.
There are some that you did. Yeah. So it's not capturing this, and this is the major thing in your work. And then look at this model. It doesn't B1, X1. It should be subscripts. You know. Okay. So it shouldn't be like this. So.
Okay. The 2, 3, they are done like they should be smaller.
Sorry, in your methodology, you mentioned that you visited commercial farms. Yes. Was what you mentioned, and you visited on the Plateau and also in Kwara State. How many of them did you visit? And then you also mentioned that the issue of quality feed. How would you determine that? Feed giving, hold on, sir. Feed given by farmers. There are those that use commercial feed. There are those that use they formulate their own feed and all of that. So what is the relationship between the ammonia release and good quality feed? Is it that the higher the quality, the lower the ammonia that they release? And what constitutes the component of ammonia? What is responsible for it? Your assessment.
No, for quality feed, what determines it is the level of crude protein. And you and I know that in the country today, most of the commercial feed millers, their prices may be high, but their quality to some extent. And that you know from, if you are raising birds for instance, you'll be able to know that for broilers, on a weekly basis, you'll be able to measure with respect to feed intake. So that at the end of the day, within the specified time, you should be able to get your, there's what we call feed conversion rate. That is a yardstick for determining the quality of the feed. And mark you, I said commercial farmers. Yeah. And most of the farms that we use in this study are those that are more than 1,000 beds to as much as 200,000. Because to get the other inputs, it can really be very, very expensive.
According to FAO, the size, according to FAO.
The size of? We use the
is it according to FAO?
No, we use addition of the president of
African Development Bank.
Yes, in one of his studies.
That's what?
Sir?
That's classified. That's classified poultry into small, medium, and commercial.
No, yeah, commercial, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And don't let us go there.
Let's is a commercial.
Number one is that, okay, you have covered all of this. I expected that you will have done some, the size of the farm, the kind of things that they have on the farm, and all of that. Some, the size of the farm, how big, and they told you. But it will be difficult for you to know the quality of feed. Because you didn't deal with conversion rate in your data collection. So, the only thing that is possible is that perhaps there are brand names that they perceived as being good quality feed. So we need to know the kind of feed they are using. This is not advertising for some of them, but at least.
So, Prof, basically, as it is at the moment, there are about 5 good brand names. You have Shikum. Yes. That's the one you produce in Kaduna. You have Top. You have Top. You have animal care in Ogere. Yes. You have this one is just Vita
feed in
yes. You have Bean. Yes. And you have Hybrid.
Hybrid
is Kaduna to Kapuri. Yes. So those are the key brands, good quality feed we have at the moment. Yes, Prof.
A lot has been said, but I just have, first of all, this issue of brandings. I think in my opinion, we're going off course because, like my prof here said earlier, what constitutes good feed? It's not the branding. I think it's the constituents.
The constituents.
I'm not relating to you directly. I'm not going directly to you, sir, because it seems the discussion is now going towards branding. It's not. That's not the issue. is even if I compose my feed myself, if I have the minimum standard and I apply it while computing my feed, it is still good quality feed. So what matters, I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you, sir. I'm just saying we should not go off course in our discussion, because what constitutes good quality feed is not the brand name, but the constituents. So there must be a minimum standard agreed on by FAO and other maybe poultry, association and all that. That is one. I don't want to go into what has been said already about your model. I'm sure it's because a lot of details are missing because it's a small presentation. I'm sure in the main work, there are a lot of things you have explained. My only concern is with the topic. Please, sir, can you go back to the topic? Yes. Accessibility of commercial chicken farms to agro inputs. You are trying to put an implication of that to greenhouse emission. But in the main work, you are talking about accessibility to, or extent of use rather, of those mitigation or whatever those things. Those practices.
Yes.
I think it's not. This topic is not making what you wanted to do clear to somebody who just picks it up. Because it seems to me that you're looking at maybe things like funds, capital, how they're able to assess agro inputs, not the practices that actually result in less greenhouse emission. So I think the topic itself misled some of us before we got into the main work. So I think that is where the whole issue started from. So apart from the other issues,
then after the knowledge, do they have the knowledge of it? Then after the knowledge of these practices, to what extent are they adopted it? And then you can rank the ones that are most important to them. Actually, all those variables, if you do some, like Prof was saying, you can do 4/8 and get your index. But even if you want to build index another way, there is the principal component or some other ones you can use that will drop off some variables that are not very important to farmers in computing an index. And then you can use that as your dependent variable and argue it out. I think that will help better.
1 minute.
Mine is just a little input. Brother, where you, like Mommy just said, on those variables, I think when you talk of gas emission, I think it has something very important to do with litter. The type of litter and the quality of litter where these beds are being kept. I think it has direct relationship to what is emitted. I have just done a seminar work on that area, looking at different type of litters and their effect on broiler production, which may be a little bit similar to what you are talking about. But I did not see anything that has to do with litter in anything all the distance you wrote at. Yes, litter cannot be the issue of litter to gas emission is even closest to the performance of those beds before these other ones you are mentioning. I think the farmers they should look at what they know from the known, then they go to the unknown. You know, for example, like Daddy said that those variables you mentioned there, how many of them are they aware of? Sorry, it was a slip of tongue. Like Prof said, that these the variables that we are working on here, how many do the farmers know? I think it should be from the known to the unknown. What I'm trying to say is that the issue of litter quality, just as you talked about quality of feed, the quality of litter has a serious role to play when you talk of gas emission. So if it's possible, you bring that in.
Like in the body of management, if the droppings come down and if it is dry, the chances is that the ammonia emission will be very, very low. So by the time it is wet, that's why you could go to any poultry that is not well managed. Nobody will, you get to the environment and you know that there's a poultry there. That's true. That's ammonia. That's ammonia. So in the body of the work, it's actually, although because you have mentioned it, I will see how I will develop it further.
You know, why I mentioned that is because you have ammonia emission. There must be good sanitation standard in such farm. So if you are talking of practices, I think sanitation is one of those major practices that farmers are always told to carry out to reduce ammonia. Yes.
Yeah. I think we are wasting too much. But it's good so that you can harvest as many pieces of advice as possible to help improve on what we have. So, we'd like to thank you and then cut the next.
An impact model. And it is 2-in-1 regression model. The minute afterward, you have to introduce a set of instruments for you to be able to estimate the real model. So the two-stage here is used, and the variables used are this. The predicted value of diversification was significant at 5%. The income from diversified enterprises was also significant in protein consumption. The education of the household was also significant. One of the, how did we determine the calorie and protein consumption in the methodology? What we did was to look at the major food items consumed in each of the households. Then we determine the calorie equivalent of this food stuff. When we determine the calorie content of some of these food materials consumed, then we determine the quantity consumed in each of the households. Then we multiply the calorie equivalent, the protein equivalent of each of the foodstuff consumed by the total consumed by each of the households. And this consumption or the computation was determined using the word an FAO classified protein and calorie content of the major foodstuff in the study area. So the ONS, the two studies revealed that what the year of diversification influenced calorie consumption and some of the other variables there. Then predicted value of diversification that was obtained from the bit regression model also revealed that the protein consumption was positively influenced by livelihood diversification in the study area. Next. The study concluded as follows: livelihood diversification had a part of household nutrition intake. The oil palm farmers in the area should be encouraged to diversify their livelihood options for the purpose of enhancing nutrition intake. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Wobo. Let's appreciate Dr. Wobo for a very timely presentation. He finished in less than 10 minutes. Okay, so do we have questions?
Is to bring some more clarification.
Yes, I also need to.
The first observation is on your 2 sample procedures. So please tell us how you go about it to arrive at your sample size. Then another observation is your diversification. I don't know how you capture it. Did you ask them, will you diversify?
Yes.
Do you not diversify? Because if that is the question, I don't know how many people will not diversify. That will make you to arrive at your 1 year, because my own assumption is that almost everybody will have diversified as at now in Nigeria. So finally, your model 2 stages were something. My own, I stand to be corrected anyway. My own knowledge about it is that is a simultaneous equation model. That equation 1 and equation 2 will be linked. The independent variable of one equation will be an independent. So I didn't see it from your explanation. I didn't see any form of simultaneous equation from the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you for a well-prepared presentation. So I want to build on the last speaker concerning your model. So about the simultaneous equation model, I want to clarify 2 things there. I want you to look at the instruments. What are the instruments you use in your model, especially the 2 SLS.
If you know wiring the information, I get the question.
So it is when we are able to.
Your name is?
Dr. Yakub. Then the identification problem, did you take note of that in that model too?
Dr. Adio. The first thing I did with respect to the, you said it's two-stage sampling procedure. The first thing I did was to select the areas where oil palm associations are, the villages. Where oil palm producer associations are, those villages. Then the second was a random selection of farmers. They are making the
first stage is called
village, straight from
villages.
The first stage is called what?
Opposite selection of those villages.
Of villages, not
Villages.
even the...
It's the local government area already.
Okay,
So,
but you see your title. Okay, to Okitipupa.
Exactly. So from the villages to the respondents. Then you made mention of diversification.
No, from local government to village to respond. It's now 3
stages.
It has been identified that what in local government area.
No, we understand.
So that one is already. So the next thing after you have known
that is purposive one.
It's 2 stages.
It's more than
the title already carried the local government area.
We get that.
Settled.
So you have a 2-stage.
Exactly.
So but we are just saying that you should have gone to ward before going to villages.
What is a political demarcation?
It's still a demarcation. If you want to go to EA or you want to use a block.
Yes, if you are using block has to do with the local government area. Why the cells are the villages. So when you are going to ward, you are talking of political classification. And in some wards, you can have as many as you can have minimum. You can have 4 or 2 villages in a ward. So at that level, you can have more than that. So at that level, it cannot be used agriculturally. So we move from block to cells. The blocks are the local government area, while the cells are the villages. That's ADP classification. Then with respect to what the doctor said, you mentioned that was good that it appears as if the purpose of the matter was that those that are classified into non-agricultural products. Because at that, if you are growing oil palm and I'm going to maize, it still was agricultural activities. They could still be affected by the same set of problem of climate change which we are still facing. So it's what diversification into non-agricultural enterprises. Yes. The challenge I'm having here is that it's a subset of a comprehensive work. So that's true. Then, like my brother has said that 2-stage is where. Why dividing the model of instrumental variables? 2-stage square is a special case of instrumental variables. And when you are running that, in 2 models are expected to be specified. But while you are running that in your stata, the 2 variables are taken care of, the analysis is taken care of simultaneously. Then what we do at that level is that the instrument to be used will be on one side after you have specified your dependent variable. Then the independent variables will be on the column. Then your instrument will also be on the column. Then
the instruments.
Yes. Then the instrument I use there are the variables that are capable, that are not capable of influencing the decision to diversify, but that are unable to influence the decision to diversify. Those are the things are the instruments I use. Then the major instrument is in the comprehensive work, not here. Then the major instrument I use they are the binary choice model, the domain variables like research, awareness, and some other variables I specified that all I cannot be able to remember for now. The major thing you must do is that if you are specifying source a model, use binary choice model as your instrument. That's it.
Domain variables.
Yes, domain variables.
But it would have been nice for us to know some of them.
Yes, I use success. Awareness. The marital status. The marital status I use at that level is married or not married. Not that one. Not the one where I specify single and divorce and those things. So those ones that are measured in the binary form or in the domain form.
Because they look at this.
Next slide.
So this is what those are being concerned with. This result also look like
OLS results.
Yes,
Most like 2 stages, right?
these 2 stage list research, if you bring out 2 results in most cases.
No, it depends on the model or the estimation you use.
Okay.
And so like if you are using CMP now, to give you the two results. But if you are using the 2 SLS, so it will run concurrently at the same time. So now go to the post estimation that we now be talking about the unity, the validity.
I think that the problem of identification the mention was is it not the identification of the instruments?
No.
Identification of the identification.
So it's identification the simultaneous equation model. So and you are bringing it instruments. So we don't know the number of instruments you are using.
That's the number of instruments must be equivalent to the number of independent.
You will now determine the identification of the model. That is the model well just identified or over-identified. So, of course, we cannot have under-identified, cannot be determined. That we should have a choice between either the model is over-identified or just identified, but that will be determined by the number of instruments you put in the model.
So that is noted.
Owombo. We are here with money.
Alright. So let's appreciate Dr. Owombo. Thank you.
And then with that, they grow bigger and bigger. So that's the essence.
To make the product of productivity, and evaluate the effect of credit on productivity, to ascertain some of the determinants of maize productivity, and we identify some constraints faced by this farmer. My study area is Edo South, 8 local governments, and out of the 8 local governments, purposely we chose 3 maize producing local governments out of the 8, and after which we proceeded to choose purposely again 2 communities in each of the local government, and then randomly sampled 20 farmers in each. Out of the 10 have access to credit and 10 did not have access to credit, making a total of 120. So from a sample, we had 60 who had access to credit and 60 who had no access to credit, who were all these farmers. From an analytical tool, apologies, I didn't state my model because I thought it was going to be included in but it's not ready, but I tried to say a few things about it. To run over the objective I called earlier, we have descriptive statistics, which we use for the socioeconomics, land productivity analysis, spatial productivity. We're not using total factor productivity, I'm using that. I will explain why later. There's time. We use the t-test to check the effect of credit on maize productivity and multiple regression analysis to find out the determinant of maize productivity. And then we use the light cascade to identify and provide some of the constraints faced by farmers in this study area. Very quickly, my results. And for what we have here, I just selected a few of them. We have 2 columns in our chart. The NCF, which is the ash color, stands for farmers who can have access to credit, and the green column stands for farmers who have access to credit. And what we have there, maize production in the area is a female-dominated activity, and the mean age for farmers who had access to credit was 43.2 years, and those who didn't have was 41.2. And the mean household size for both stands 5, 7, and 8 respectively. And the mean years of farming experience, what we have there, 16.4 years and 22.4 years. Farmers with access to credit and those who didn't have. And the mean farm size is 1.6 and 4.6 hectares for those who had access to credit and those who didn't have respectively. Now the source and the amount of credit assessed by maize farmers highlighted those highest percentage of sources, and from our result, the highest source of credit to farmers was from private money lenders, and next to that is from family and friends, and from microfinance institutions. which were set up to address the issue of credit to small-scale farmers. And the least we had was from a cooperative society in the form of daily contribution. And we can see that the average that they have, average amount of assets that they had was 116,840 naira down there. Now, as touching the yield, the distribution and productivity of maize farmers in this area, we have 2 columns there. I just specifically want to point to the difference of both. And as we can see, the productivity per hectare there for farmers who have access to credit is 1531.74. I'm telling us that there is an increase with 133.81% when you compare both of them. And when we look at the output for farmers with access to credit, they were able to increase their production and productivity. And that is why we have 7.46 ton. Now, this is in contrast to what is obtainable for those who do not have, which is a little lower than 2 tons, 1048. And at the moment, the main part of maize production in Nigeria is just a little above 2 tons. To tell you that those who had access to credit, the productivity was higher. There are many factors to access to agrochemicals and possibly the ability to get improved variety of seed, as you can see there. Now, the effect of credit on productivity of maize production, our T-value there is 263.53. Is positive, and it tells us that credit had a positive effect on that, and it shows us that there's an increase in productivity. If we look at it at significance of 1%. On the determinants of maize productivity, just 2 of them, farming experience and volume of credit assessed, is significant. And what we have there, looking at the coefficient of farming experience, should we increase, or should there be an increase in the unit of years of farming experience, or be an increase of maize productivity, the same with the volume of credit? Interested, the difficulty of having access to credit. And this is a result of a lot of bureaucracy, some terms and conditions for farmers to have access to this credit. Some of them are highlighted below, high interest rate, and inadequate credit facility in terms of the volume the farmers want to access to increasing productivity of maize in the south of Nigeria. And we can find that in the study with an evidence of 132% increase, 34% increase in productivity between those who had access and those who did not. And together, organize themselves into farmers cooperative and put together their resources to enhance productivity. This is going to wipe out some of the bottleneck they experience in trying to access money from what we call having pushing the narrative among cooperative groups. Let cooperative not be about forming cooperatives to access money. What they have within themselves, let them pull it together and let them see how they can use it among themselves. And I'm also recommending that all the private money lenders who have the highest contribution to the volume of credit access to farmers, to try to see how they can be liberal in making credit available to farmers, minimizing the bureaucracy involved, reducing interest rate, and increasing the amount of credit disbursed to them so as to improve maize productivity. If I have access to farmers, I will talk to them to make it as part of the terms and conditions of when negotiating for credit to reduce some of these things. Thank you very much.
Maize production in the state. He has told us, it's just that when you look at the title and then you look at the full presentation, I continue to hear more credit. And when you look at the title, the issue of credit is not what they are reflecting. It's more or less like you are looking at how credit is going to lead to increasing the productivity of maize. That's my observation. Then apart from that, in the whole work, how do you arrive at the productivity? We are just hearing productivity. Which type of productivity are you talking about? You didn't tell us. You are making us, it's more or less you want us to assume. How do you come across that? So, yeah, the sampling technique, again, My observation there, when you get to the final point where you want to pick the tomato farmers, to me, my advice is, it's not possible for you to say that you pick 20, 20, 20, 20. There will be lopsidedness in the number of farmers. So picking the equal number will look more kind. Why not pick where you have more farmers, more representative, less representative? That would be more like it. Then in your result, for the household size, I noticed you are talking of 7, 8. And then there was something I said the other time. Any of these studies that involves the data collected can be disaggregated to those that are getting credits, although it's not in the title, those that are not getting credit. It will have been better if you carry out the comparison. You compare some key variables there in terms of the output, whatever. That will add more meaning to what you are getting at the end of the day.
Thank you.
So, let's discuss now.
In addition to what Ogana said, in the abstract, it was stated that 60 maize farmers who utilize credits and 60 who do not utilize credits. But when you are giving us the explanation, you said farmers that have access. So I'm thinking, and it is true, there is difference between farmers utilizing the credit or have access. So you should just clear with that. And since they are not, since there is no, let me talk about that. You are talking that you said you will tell us how you got your productivity level. But when I saw it, I saw land, which means that you use partial productivity. Be able to explain why you are using partial productivity. Then
so it's yield, but it's either you are using yield, right? Yes, or output, isn't it so? That makes some sense. Now, why am I saying so? Look, I say volume of credit. So look at your value coefficient. So I don't know whether you use the double log or just linear. So look at that volume. Translate it. A unit increase in what? Will increase productivity by what? Did you understand? So I asked myself, does this result? Did you get what I'm trying to say? Because it's so small. So I said, then why do I need credit? So marginal. Did you understand? And the reason is not that you would have gotten a good result. It's because of the way you chose your sample. You see? Your error in sampling size and not have the effect of your analysis. Right? Most people don't know. Yeah? So that's why you have to clean your results, your data very well. And then you now plot it so that if they are outliers, you remove them. You don't have to tell us because you use 120, you must report 120. No. The ones that make sense is what you report. But you can tell us, well, you got 120 farmers, however, appropriate returns made you to use less than. Did you understand? It makes more sense. You can't tell me use 120 because I know they are outliers and it's the cost of it. Now the last one. You don't put your significant stars on your p-values. Is it the p-value that is significant or the coefficient? You understand now? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It's just jump to 60-60 and I begin to wonder, how do you just get 60-60? So how do you arrive at the sample size? Please, let's expatiate.
You understand? The this value looks too bogus. I don't know what happened. The 263.53.
That's
maybe you just check it.
Is it easy?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Is it that in kilograms? Is it in kilograms?
It's comparing the productivity of those who have access to credit and those that they don't have.
Okay, those will be but they are in kilograms, true or false?
By
what's your home? Is it not tomato? What's your home? Cool down. What's your home? Leave that now. What we should be looking at is not even that value. It's the SD. If the SD is so large, that means they are outliers. They are not They are not within, although although for productivity, it means that they are outliers for what I'm saying. Because they shouldn't be as large as that. That's what we use in knowing whether you collect data or not. It's the SD we know. Because that's the one that affects your error. That tells you there's error in your data already. That's what it's telling us.
Is that the extent of literature search that you have done? Please don't make such an assertion. That nobody has ever done anything on.
No, I'm not making that.
That's what you said now.
Based on what we were able to assess, based on what is accessible to us during the study.
Then that means you have not done proper literature search. You have done it. What do they call research? And why were you identifying that? It's looking for it all over. That's the meaning of research. Look for it again. That means someone must have done something close to what you are doing. It's just that, okay, there's one little thing that perhaps is not added. So it's not always good to put that blanket statement that in Yoruba they say you have not, because you have not gone deeper into the forest, you will have seen the hunchback squirrel. So if you have done a lot of or enough of search, you probably will have seen that even the one that you are talking about, someone has done it before. Maybe the location you are carrying out this your own study is the only different thing in what you are doing. But to say that nobody has ever done it, and don't come and see it in this kind of gathering.
Accepted.
Adaptation to climate smart agricultural practices among agro-pastoralists in the northeast Nigeria. Agro-pastoralism is a livelihood system that integrates crop production and livestock production. It will be practiced among settled, nomadic, or transhumant communities. Climate change particularly affects the arid and semi-arid region of the northeastern Nigeria. Although climate change is a universal phenomenon, but we should know that the indicators and manifestations are entirely local. And so the adaptation choices, strategies, and practices should now be peculiar to the area you are studying. The big question is whether agro-pastoral coping and adaptation strategies are still based on traditional practices passed on from generation to generation, and whether there are adequate ways to address the unprecedented challenges that are posed by climate change in the arid and semi-arid lands of the northeastern Nigeria. For the design of an application of effective climate change mitigation strategies, it is crucial to gain support and trust from the local communities. That is, you must involve them to know what they are doing. So, perception of farmers about climate change is a crucial aid to the adaptation. In the opinion of Earth et al., adaptation to climate change includes activities that prevent or lessen the negative potential impact to society of change to the climate. Successful adaptation will not only contribute to development, but will also reduce the risk to which people are exposed and minimize damages and losses that they may suffer in future as a result of climate impact. The main objective is to understand the perception of farmers on climate change and the adaptation measures adopted by the farmers with regard to crop and livestock production in the northeast agroecological zone of Nigeria. Specifically, the study analyzed the socioeconomic characteristics of respondents, assessed the perception of climate change by agro-pastoralists in the study area, examined the factors affecting perfection and their impact in the study area, estimated the factors affecting agro-pastoralist adaptation to climate change, and then identified the various adaptive strategies used by the respondents. Methodology.
The study was carried out in the northeast of Nigeria, which comprised Borno, Yobe, Bauchi, Gombe. In the selection of samples, focus group discussion was also conducted in 3 villages. Altogether, 36 village-level questionnaires were completed. In the first stage, 3 states were proposally selected out of the 6 that were placed were Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe State. In the second stage, 1 local government area was selected from each of the 3 states. In the fourth stage, 84 pastoralists were selected from Adamawa State, 67 from Borno, and 56 from Yobe State. In all, a total of 207 farmers were sampled. Objective 1, 2, and 5 were analyzed using discrete statistics. Objective 2 was analyzed using a 5-point Likert scale model, which is on a scale of response scale of increase, decrease, undetectable, no changes, do not know. Then objective 4 was analyzed using the project model, which is affecting, we estimated or determined the factors affecting agro-pastoralist adaptation of respondents to climate change. Were male, and they were the mid-age 39, which means that they are fairly young. They earn 84,066 kobo on average every month. Then 68,054 comes from the farm income. About 90% of them have access to weather information. Now, agro-pastoralist perception of climate change in northeastern Nigeria. The variables that are really of concern when you are looking at climate change are rainfall and temperature. And you can see that more than 70% of the respondents said that there was actually a change in as regards rainfall. Also, more than 70% also said that there was a change in the temperature. That's when you add up increase and decrease. There was a change, whether increase or decrease. More than 70% agree that there was a change, or their perception is that there was a change. Then, this the 22.something% said that it's unpredictable, it could go up or down. Then about some said that there was no change at all. Some don't even know what is happening. That is, they don't care. Or let me say that they don't care. Agro-pastoralist perception of climate change impacts. That's, we ask them exactly what the impact it has on certain variables. What do they think? How did it impact on variables like crop area, pasture quality, housing security, livestock loss, crop strokes, livestock diseases, harvest time, seedling stroke, calving time, and farm income. According to them, these are how they feel about it, how it impacted this and that. And you can see whether from the average there, the pasture quality was mainly impacted on. Then the housing security, because the flood will come and destroy their houses and all that. The crop area for those of them who were majorly into, agro-pastoralism, that's cropping. It also affected them somehow. So now we look at we use the profit model to look at how it affected adaptation to climate change. Profit model we know is a binary model. We can see that there was about 5.7% affected, goes to experience, 5.4 to education. Those ones are positive. I'm looking at the positive ones now. And then range size was also 1%. Farm income it also affected, even though that one is positively affected it, and it's also significant. Even though that one was just at 10% significant level. Now, these are the variables that were listed by them as their adaptation, what they use. This is there's existence of multiple responses here. Amongst them, supplementing livestock feed, livestock, just like you can see there, these are the variables that they responded to, and the frequencies and the percentages are there. These are the measures they use in their own place to mitigate or the adaptation strategies which they use to combat the climate change thing. Now, our analysis of respondents' adaptive and perceived behavior provides a comprehensive understanding of the importance of climate in determining the effectiveness of agricultural programs. Policy recommendation: climate change education and public awareness should be strengthened, especially in rural communities with serious misunderstandings and limited farmers' ability to adapt to climate change. Secondly, efforts should be focused on deep-seated adaptation measures, such as the use of high-yielding varieties and diversification of agro-pastoral operations. Thank you for listening.
About the topic is that in the northeast Nigeria, why the choice of all these 3 states, and what is the state of problem or the gap that necessitates this research, especially the area of climate smart agricultural strategies? Because from what I can find here, maybe you can throw more light on that. And in your research, I discovered that your research is on pooled data. Pooled data. You are not reporting based on all those states that you have. It's like you have already pulled the data and then start giving the interpretation. You didn't look at the comparative analysis of those respondents because they are from different states. So, and something also came to my mind is that you have 207 sample respondents among those states mentioned. I'm of the opinion that why not limit yourself to a particular state that if I even have this up to 207 respondents, rather than having 207 across about 4 different states. 3 different states, yes, Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe State. So I look at the proportion then with your estimate, because the more you move to the population, the more the better your research. So when you're having just 207 out of what is the population of all these particularly. So it's very important the kind of sample size you use in research, so that if you want to give a kind of policy statement on this, so it's very important. So I think that's my comment.
In the states, and the sampling was done proportionate to size. But statistically, 30 is a large sample size. Is it not true? My prof. That is of course statistically. So, according to the number of agro-pastoralists we were able to find in the 3 states, the sampling was done. And I don't see anything wrong with, trying to, go choose 3 states out of 6.
Why do you have to choose 3 states out of 6? And you are able to, except there are some variations in those states. And when there are some variations, that then means that the comparative analysis that is talking about will apply. But if a state can serve for others, why do we have to go to as many as 3 states? Remember that when you do sampling, you are talking about 3 things that you want to ensure: precision, time, and cost. So those 3 things, you have to balance them. And in balancing them, Adamawa alone is a huge stretch. Not to talk about Borno. Yobe may not be that big, but even at that, you can travel in Adamawa, you can do 300-400 kilometers in Adamawa, you know. So, why do you have to go? But it's no problem, you have collected your data, you have the resources, perhaps it's a study by a particular organization that wants it that way, so there's nothing anybody can do about that. But the point is, again, I would like to subscribe to the fact that 30, in some instances, is, in fact, statistically, 30 is a big number, and then you can then use that to generalize. But most times, we always think of our pocket. If we have more resources, we could have been doing census. But because that is not possible, we have to take samples and representative samples for that matter. So.
Any more comments?
Yes, I have one. Let's take a look at your regression. I see that it is 0.8, your R squared is 0.8 something. And I see something missing here. I want to ask, you know, there are, our president was saying in the morning that you don't lie with figures. There is a book that is called How to Lie with Statistics. And yes, and there we can see some.
That's an error.
What's the error? Tell me the error.
Sorry, sir. I want it.
No, talk.
It should have been 86.
No. Maybe it is 86. It's still 86%. This is a cross-sectional data to start with. This is also an adaptation related study, not production, wherein you know the factors of production. That what you don't know is some variation in weather or whatever, which can be a small error. In this kind of analysis, if you are getting more than 0.5, people will start querying you. If you have squares getting beyond 0.5, people will start querying you. And I can see a suppression of one thing, the constant term. When you remove the constant term, what you are saying is that every other variable does not matter. So take them off. Only these ones will determine it. And when you do that, you will have IR squared. But IR squared is not what you should be looking for here. Rather, all those diagnostic tests, significant at 1%, your log likelihood are things that we need to take a look at. Where is the constant term? It's because you suppressed it now, and you didn't know how to lie well. If you know how to lie, you will have run the one with constant, and then run this one, and bring the value on the constant one, and post it here. And then you are lying.
I put it when I was already.
I'm teaching you bad things. But
Chooks, you are the one who helped me to.
No, I just have to crop the
you
results.
should never take responsibility for this.
I didn't run the regression class. I only copied the result for you on the slide. But it wasn't there now. It wasn't in the document. And what Prof is saying is not.
I almost sent it at last minute. You understand? So I said.
So how did you measure the adaptation to climate change? Is it an index? Is it what? I just want to know.
So I have a problem here. That's why I didn't want to present it, but I will still look at it again.
Please look at it again. You want to learn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on.
Interesting, educative, but more importantly, we're all going home with the renewed zeal to get information, carry out research that will contribute effectively to the growth and development of the agricultural sector, and not just the agricultural sector, the nation as a whole. We have listened to different delegates listen to different research programs and research papers. And two key things are important that I think we can go home with. Number one, the evidence that we see with respect to the need for infrastructural development, with respect to the need for effective assessment of agricultural development programs and their impact on welfare. Also, I need to add the role that young people can play in agricultural development. These are three key things that we can go away with. And these are three key things that we need to develop effective policies around. Number one, how do we make agriculture a little bit more attractive to the young people? We see that their participation in such programs can not only create employment, but can also help to improve welfare. We have seen that the absence of infrastructural facilities, consistent power, good roads, rural infrastructure, it's all food supply, food security will also be hindered. We also see that there is need for improvement. We are on a journey, and that journey can be successful if we all go back and play our part. We have called on the government, the community, not only the agricultural sector, but we also want to call on other actors in society, other stakeholders, NGOs, international funding organizations, and other development agencies to expand their activities beyond. The conference for 2023 will take place at Malete. We can build on what we have found here. We can build on what we have developed here. And we hope to see you all at Kwara State University, Malete, Ilorin, Kwara State. Thank you very much for coming. Safe trip when you go home. We hope to see you again. Would like to declare the conference Ibadan 2022 NAE conference. Thank you. I'll call on Dr. Grace to give us the closing prayers.
Grateful, oh Lord, for all you have done for us. Amen, amen. We are grateful, oh Lord. Our Father and our Lord, we cannot thank you enough for what you have done for us. Thank you, Lord, for bringing us safely. Thank you for a successful conference. And now that we have finished it, Father, take us home safely. In Jesus' name we pray. All that we've gathered here, Father, let us be able to put it to good use through Christ our Lord. Amen. Long live our association, long live our country. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the... Safe journey, everybody.